Ramon Dino has just made history. He's the first Brazilian to win the Classic Physique category at Mr. Olympia, the biggest bodybuilding championship on the planet. It's a huge accomplishment and a source of national pride. But behind the spotlights and the almost superhuman physique, there's another side to this victory that few people discuss: the price the body pays to reach that level. While the public applauds the aesthetics, a doctor looks beyond the muscles. What happens to the heart, the liver, the kidneys when an athlete goes through intense cycles of anabolics, diuretics, and extreme restrictions? Why do so many champions end up facing cardiac hypertrophy, kidney failure, and even sudden death? Today, I want to celebrate Ramon's achievement, but also pull back the curtain on extreme bodybuilding to show what really happens inside the body of an elite athlete. And by the end, you'll understand why, despite all the glory, this quest for physical perfection can come at an extremely high cost to one's health. Before we continue, make sure you're subscribed to the channel and go ahead and leave a like. It helps spread quality medical information and motivates me to keep bringing you content just like this. Bodybuilding is one of the most extreme ways of testing just how far the human body can go. To reach the level of a Mr. Olympia champion like Ramon Dino, an athlete has to completely manipulate their own metabolism. Daily training, fluid restriction, diets controlled down to the gram, and the use of anabolic steroids, in addition to growth hormone and even insulin. This cocktail creates an impressive physique, but it's also a fertile ground for serious imbalances. Studies published in JAMA show that the prolonged use of anabolic steroids can increase the risk of heart attack, thrombosis, or sudden death by up to 4 times, even in young and apparently healthy people. The heart undergoes a true metamorphosis. Research from the American Heart Association indicates that the continuous use of steroids can thicken the walls of the myocardium by up to 15%, causing cardiac hypertrophy, arrhythmias, and even premature heart failure. On top of that, using diuretics to dry out before a competition causes a loss of sodium and potassium, which alters the heart's electrical rhythm. And that is precisely what explains many of the fatal collapses that happen during competitions. But the effects aren't limited to the heart. The liver suffers from hepatotoxicity due to oral anabolic steroids, leading to cases of cholestasis, liver tumors, and even liver failure. The kidneys face an overload from excessive protein supplementation and from the increase in glomerular pressure. Studies show that bodybuilders have a higher incidence of focal segmental glomerulosclerosis, a type of kidney damage associated with extreme muscle mass. And what about the brain? This might be the most silently affected organ. Researchers from Harvard have shown that the prolonged use of synthetic testosterone alters brain circuits linked to mood, reward, and impulse control. This explains why many athletes face sudden changes in behavior, anxiety, aggression, and even depression during what's known as the post-cycle. The result is a body that looks invincible on the outside, but is at war on the inside. Each sculpted muscle comes with an immense physiological and emotional burden. And when the mirror becomes the greatest enemy, the risk is not just physical, but psychological. Anabolics promise quick results, but the price the body pays is slow and cumulative. In the beginning, the effects seem magical. More strength, definition, and self-esteem is through the roof. But over time, the body begins to react. When synthetic testosterone enters the body understands that it no longer needs to produce the natural hormone, and the hormonal axis is shut down. This causes testicular atrophy, a drop in libido, infertility, and a feeling of exhaustion that many describe as an energy blackout. And what's most serious is that, in a large number of cases, this suppression can become irreversible. Clinical studies show that the prolonged use of anabolics profoundly alters the lipid profile. Good cholesterol, which is HDL, plummets, while bad cholesterol, the LDL, rises dangerously. This imbalance accelerates the buildup of plaque in the arteries, increasing the risk of heart attack and stroke. Furthermore, there is a direct impact on the liver, which begins to metabolize large quantities of toxic substances. Cases of drug-induced hepatitis, fatty liver disease, and even liver tumors have been documented in professional and amateur athletes. What many people forget is that the body isn't just made of muscle, it's a delicate system. By trying to manipulate one hormone, you interfere with several others. The artificial increase in testosterone raises estradiol levels, leading to gynecomastia, water retention, and mood swings. Meanwhile, the excessive use of GH and insulin deregulates glucose metabolism, promoting insulin resistance, prediabetes, and thyroid alterations. It's a domino effect. You touch one end and the rest of the system collapses. The problem is that many of these effects don't appear right away. The athlete feels fine, continues to get on stage, and believes that everything is under control, until a test or an unexpected symptom reveals the opposite. The body silently has been running up a tab, and when the bill arrives, it can be too high to pay. Behind the scenes of major competitions, there is a tense silence before each performance. The public only sees the defined muscles, the skin, and the intense lights. But what many don't realize is that at that moment, the athlete's body is at the absolute limit of survival. The combination of diuretics, water restriction, and a drastic reduction in sodium serves to rid the physique of retention. But this practice pushes the body into a state of severe dehydration, electrolyte imbalance, and cardiovascular collapse. Cases of sudden death in bodybuilding competitions have been recorded since the 1990s and continue to happen. Medical reports show that in many of these episodes, the athletes presented critical levels of potassium and sodium associated with the abuse of loop diuretics. This sudden drop in electrolytes alters the heart's electrical rhythm, leading to fatal arrhythmias or cardiac arrest. Furthermore, extreme physical exertion and the heat on stage worsen the condition, potentially causing heat stroke and even multiple organ failure. During the final preparation phase, it's common for athletes to drastically reduce their water intake while maintaining a heavy training regimen. This can cause rhabdomyolysis, a condition where muscle fibers break down and release toxic substances into the blood, which end up clogging the kidneys. Cases of acute kidney failure after competitions have been reported in elite athletes, with some even requiring emergency dialysis. What's more frightening is that these collapses often happen to experienced competitors who appear healthy and had seemingly normal test results just weeks before. The difference is the limit. Just a few days of incorrectly managing water, hormones, or electrolytes are enough to turn a champion's body into a body at risk. The stage showcases the pinnacle of human aesthetics, but what comes after is often an emotional abyss. The pressure to maintain a perfect physique, combined with the prolonged use of anabolic steroids and hormonal fluctuations between cycles, can cause a veritable mental earthquake. Research conducted by universities like Harvard and Cambridge shows that up to 30% of athletes who use steroids develop some degree of depression, anxiety, or psychological dependence after a cycle. The body changes and the brain changes with it. During use, testosterone and GH elevate levels of dopamine and serotonin, which are neurotransmitters linked to motivation and a feeling of power. The athlete feels invincible, productive, and euphoric. But when the cycle ends and hormone levels plummet, the so-called post-cycle crash occurs. Lack of energy, irritability, despondency, and even panic attacks. The brain, which is used to functioning at a high level, goes into withdrawal. It's a process similar to what happens with chemical dependencies, and some studies now classify the prolonged use of anabolic steroids as a form of neurobiological dependence. There's also the aspect of muscle dysmorphia, a disorder where the athlete sees themselves as small, even when they are far above average. This distorted self-image leads to an obsession with training, diet, and the continuous use of hormones. That's because their body is never enough. Many end up isolating themselves socially, developing anxiety and extreme mood swings and a destructive relationship with the mirror. The quest for physical perfection becomes an invisible prison. In the end, extreme bodybuilding shapes not just muscles, but identities. The mind goes to war with the body, and what began as a dream of self-improvement can turn into dependence, guilt, and emotional exhaustion. It's a reminder that health isn't just about aesthetics, but about balance. And without that balance, the most impressive physique in the world can hide a more silent suffering. Movement is one of the most powerful tools that medicine has ever discovered. Regular exercise improves cardiovascular function, regulates glucose, reduces inflammation, protects the brain, and increases longevity. Studies show that physically active people have a lower risk of heart attack, diabetes, degenerative diseases, and even cancer. In other words, exercise is one of the most potent medicines in existence. And the best part is, it doesn't require a prescription. But as with everything in medicine, the dose makes the medicine or the poison. When the body is pushed to extremes, whether by excessive training, aesthetic obsession, or using substances to accelerate results, what was once a synonym for health becomes a trigger for disease. Excessive loads, the use of anabolics, diuretics, and severe restrictions cause a systemic stress that the body was not made to endure. The heart enlarges, the liver gets overloaded, and the hormonal axis collapses. The modern challenge isn't just to train more, it's to train with awareness. Having a strong body is important, but having a healthy body is essential. True performance is about maintaining energy, mental health, and balance for decades, not just for one cycle. And if this video helped you understand the other side of bodybuilding, leave a like and make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Now I want you to tell me in the comments, do you think it's worth going that far?